The Legend of the Widow's Walk by Mar McEwen. Have you heard tale of the Widow's Walk? It was not always named this. Back in the 19th century, it was a popular feature on homes to have a standard decorative walkway around the chimney, providing access to the structure and to allow residents to pour sand down chimneys in case of a fire. However, they were soon used for another purpose. Captain William Grayson set sail one April morning, looking back to see his wife, Charlotte, waving goodbye from the pier. They had been married but 2 weeks, and William had warned her that the life of a sea captain's wife would not be easy. Charlotte had laughed and told him that she would be able to bear the time they were parted as bravely as he could bear being tossed about by the stormy sea. Charlotte watched her husband's ship disappear on the horizon and turned to walk back to her home, determined to be strong the 3 weeks her husband must be away. She climbed the hill where their house rested and set about running the household in her husband's absence. At times, as the days passed, she would find herself going to the window to look out, though her view of the sea was blocked by trees and another hill. It soon became a game she played, going to every room in the house to try to see the sea. Yet every window could not give her the view she desired. Still she pursued, for walking down to the pier every day was not possible, and so she went higher up into the house, searching for the perfect view. Thinking she would have to go out on the roof to see the ocean, Charlotte discovered a little walkway, and was soon on the chimney, with a perfect view of the sea. As the weeks passed, Charlotte went to the walkway to gaze out to sea, walking back and forth as she took her vigil. The servants would joke they could hear her footsteps echoing down into the house as she paced. 3 weeks passed, and William's ship did not return. Charlotte continued to climb to the top of the house and pace back and forth, waiting, watching. Each day she fretted more, wringing her hands as she walked back and forth, every fear that could have delayed William's return playing in her mind, until one day she saw a ship on the horizon. With bated breath she watched it, as she had others before, and as it drew nearer to shore, she recognized it as her husband's. Feeling relieved, Charlotte decided to wait where she was, so that when her husband came up the hill, he would see where she kept watch for him. And so she waited, and waited. Finally, she saw someone coming up the hill, a man in a sailor's uniform. She took a step forward, but he was not her husband. She knew him, her husband's first mate, Jonathan Clark. With quickened steps, Charlotte hurried down from the roof, through the house, into the front door, pulling it open just as Jonathan Clark reached the porch. With great sorrow lining his face, Jonathan removed his hat and told her that William had taken ill at sea. They had reached their destination, and delayed their return to give William and the other sailors, who had become sick, a chance to recover. Insisting he had started to feel better, William had ordered the ship to return home, but back on the open sea his condition had worsened, and 2 days before sighting land, William had died. By custom, her husband's body had been buried at sea, and all Jonathan could give her were a few keepsakes that had belonged to William. In the days that followed learning of her husband's death, Charlotte wandered through the rooms of her house, a grey cloud of despair hanging over her. Without thought, she found herself once more on the roof on the walkway, staring out to sea. Her feet began to pace, back and forth, and back and forth, and all throughout the house, Charlotte's footsteps echoed. The servants did not smile when they heard them, but paused in their work to listen, each footstep sounding eerie in the quiet house. Day after day, Charlotte went to the walkway and paced back and forth, looking out for a ship that would never bring her husband home. Until, one day, with a great cry of despair, Charlotte threw herself from the roof to the ground below and died. After her body was laid to rest, when the servants were covering up the furniture in the house, they paused in shock when footsteps echoed from up above. They rushed to the roof, but no one was there. Again they went back to their task of cleaning and putting the house to order for whoever took it next. And again, footsteps echoed from the roof, pacing back and forth, just as Charlotte had. "The widow's walk," one servant whispered to another, and again they rushed to the roof, only to once again not see anyone. When the footsteps happened a third time, the servants ran from the house, proclaiming it was haunted. And thus the story of the widow's haunting footsteps spread. Many came to the house and swore they heard it as well, those eerie footsteps, echoing as the widow's ghost paced back and forth, maintaining her vigil even in death. As the tale spread, so too did it become romanticized, and other wives of sailors and soldiers, businessmen and other professions that called men away from home, found themselves climbing to the roof of their homes, pacing back and forth on the walkway that soon was termed the Widow's Walk, and homes in New England area are still made with one today, though chimney fires are scarce and it has little practical use. Still, the Widow's Walk continues, and on stormy nights when the sea rages cruelly, you can hear it, those haunting footsteps of a widow waiting for a loved one who will never return. The end.